all for joining us. Tonight we have a very special guest with us, and I'm just going to briefly introduce Rinpoche. When Rinpoche was 3 years old, I think, he was recognized by His Holiness the Dalai Lama as the incarnation of the great master Kyabje Sensheb Serkong Rinpoche, who was one of the debate partners of His Holiness. And then Rinpoche started his training at Ganden Jangse Monastery in South India, continued his training and education at the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics in Dharamsala. And on the advice of the Dalai Lama, Rinpoche completed 3 years of intensive study of English in Canada. So that was very kind of His Holiness, so that Rinpoche's English is wonderful. Tonight we are also joined by Rinpoche's translator, Simon. So thank you for helping us out here, Simon. And so currently Rinpoche teaches at Dharma centers worldwide, combining his profound Buddhist knowledge and practice with an understanding of the modern world. So we'll get into a little bit of a discussion today, and we'll talk more about Rinpoche's activities and how you can connect with Rinpoche. One of the ways is through Serkong Institute. We'll talk more about that later. But we've been fortunate to have Rinpoche with us here at Wisdom for quite a few days, and we've had some amazing conversations. And I wish I had recorded them all, Rinpoche. But we have recorded some of them. And one of the things I've been really interested in of late, because of all this talk about AI and computers and, you know, will the AI start translating? And so I've been thinking about this idea of transmission, as you know, Rinpoche, and the idea that transmission, we all have the intuition that transmission is more than an exchange of information. Mm-hmm. But to say more than that is hard. Yeah. And so we were talking, and you shared, so I was hoping you could say a little bit about that, but there was one story you told me about when we're talking about this idea that transmission is more than just information. And the story there was a king, a queen, an attendant, and the Buddha. So I was hoping you could share that story, and it might kick us off into this conversation.
Okay. First, Daniel, thank you very much for inviting me. It's such an honor to meet all these wonderful people, and also the online people there. So now, and thank you for the introduction. To be honest, my English is not good, so that's why here's a translator.
Your English is excellent. He's more here to help me.
I don't think so. I think transmission, PD instruction, all these things that we really want, need to have a better understanding, to become a better practitioner. Everybody wants that. But to be honest, it's not free. So you need to earn it. So to get all the special instructions, like many people of you, I think now, who studied a lot, and especially people who came through the stages of path by Lama Tsongkhapa. In Lam Rinpoche in the beginning, he shares a story about great Adisha, and he goes to Tibet, and then one person just knocks on his door and says, I heard you are such a great person who can give the pit instruction. So I'm here, please give it to me. So then Adisha laughed and said, like, well, you are a very strange and funny person, but to get the pit instruction, you need to have a faith. That's how he put it. The faith, 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 you put 3 times there. So now the transmission, pit instruction, even we are in the one room, like it's happening, like we are most of us are students of His Holiness Dalai Lama. We receive all the teaching, but are we really getting what he's really giving the teaching about, actually? But some of some of my friends are getting it, but we are not getting it. But same teaching, same teacher. And one is getting it, and the rest are not getting it. Why? Why? I think there's some big problem down there. It's not easy for me to say it's faith, because faith, it sometimes takes time me to digest. To be honest, there's something big missing thing. Even we think there's a small part, because I'm well prepared, I studied and everything, I feel ready, but there's no much kind of, I sometimes say the glue to stick it together. Your Lama's teaching and your mind, you feel like you understand, but you cannot digest that. There's no this kind of the glue thing to stick together. This is missing part. So then it connects to the teaching, where the Buddha's, one of in the sutra, where Buddha shares this incredible story of Ngosangma, the queen who, a Buddhist queen who married the non-Buddhist king, and he can be very dominant, and so she couldn't go and receive teaching directly from Buddha. So she is also very intelligent. So what will she do is she will kind of choose from her, she has lots of mates, and then from one of the intelligent, very smart, sharp, good memory, she will choose one and then send it to listen to Buddha's teaching. So that maid will listen to the teaching of the Buddha, and then she will come and to her, and then she will offer the teaching to her. And she will practice so seriously, like there's nothing better thing to do than this. And then she always feel like it's time to get the realization. It's about time, because all the causes and the conditions are all there. So why it's not coming out? She has this kind of a worry, or kind of, I really don't know. It's like you order something on Amazon, it's not coming, and you just struggle down there, right? Something like that, I guess. So she's so worried, and then she sends the maid once again to the Buddha and sends a message saying, what's the problem there? So then Buddha listens to the maid and then asked one very simple question. So normally when you share my teaching to the queen, how do you give this teaching to her? And then she says, well, queen will sit on the throne and I sit down on the floor and offer it to her. And the Buddha smiled a bit and said, maybe this time you sit on the throne and then she sits on the floor and listen it once again. And then see whether realization is there or not. She goes back, gives the message, no problem. Automatically it comes out. So I kind of believe in this, to be honest. And the most important, how much you learn. If you don't have this kind of a qualification, this kind of quality, and then you feel like, I know what my teacher is talking about. Sometimes you feel like I'm better than my teacher now. And then pride is there. And then how can you get something to get better? Because there's no way to see something far better than you, because you are all blocked there. I'm the best. I'm doing great. But the problem is I cannot bring down my ego and the grasping. But then for that you need to someone to relay on, actually. The master who you have to believe, decisive belief, that I call it, not just belief. Decisive belief. This teaching really helping me, and you are the one who can really, really help me to bring this out. So then I think we will always ask, is the decisive faith, belief, is necessary to us to become a good practitioner? And then it becomes quite a personal thing, I guess.
Mm. So Rinpoche, this story is there's something changes, right? So the information is the same.
Yes.
But the setting changes. Instead of the queen being on the throne, the attendant on the floor, the attendant who's passing on the dharmas sits on the throne, the queen sits on the floor. Something happens here.
Yes.
And then Rinpoche also mentioned, like, you go to teachings and sometimes you attend lots of teachings and then look around, maybe these people are all getting it, but what about me? My Amazon package hasn't arrived yet.
So that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Normally we don't have that. The queen does have that.
Yes.
So here we go. Yes.
The queen needed that from the
Yes.
Buddha to say, try this.
So there's no problem with normally, because it is time of so much caste system is there. And can you imagine a queen putting a maid on the throne? And now, because she is so kind of a thriving, thirsty, what's that? Yearning towards this to get something. So she doesn't care about the queen or the reputation, because this becomes the priority. So then here we go. So, but for us, it will be very difficult.
So what is it, Rinpoche? So we've been throwing around a few words, faith, these sort of things. What is the missing ingredient here? Like, can we say a little bit more about, obviously we could make a story about, the queen, had to confront some sort of humility about sitting on a throne, or what is it? What do we need when we go to teachings and sit there so that we receive more than just the information, that we get the transmission? What does it mean by these words, faith and things like that?
So now, because we learn so many things, because we follow our heart. That's how we put it. We love to follow our heart. And we got inspired by all this beautiful and very precious, like when we say bodhicitta, emptiness, great compassion, shamatha, mindfulness. We just are so into this. But the funniest thing is, our great guide, teacher, Buddha, he didn't just go become a monk and left the palace because he heard there's a bodhicitta, emptiness. But what he really tried to go out from, because even he is surrounded by thousands and thousands of servants and all this luxury life, which his mind is not really kind of settled, and he's looking for something. Because he got connected. We could say renunciation, but to be honest, it's more like he found a secret thing down there, saying like, the whole problem of this world and samsara is because I'm born in this. Me being in this world is a problem. So unless I cannot cease this kind of a rebirth once and all, then I will have to go through this again and again and again and again. I'm so tired of this. This is the interesting part because most of us practitioners, like me, including me, we don't have that when we do practice. We are here. We always think, I want to have a better life. And I share you a very funny story. In India, one of my friend's son came to me and said, he's quite young, he's a teenager. He says, you're a teacher of my father, and I guess you are a very powerful one. And he said, somebody broke my heart. If you can do some kind of magic, put a spell, so that person will come back in my life, I promise you I will be Buddhist the rest of my life. So that is really funny. That's really funny too. I said I couldn't help you with that. It's against the law of karma. It doesn't sound any being a Buddhist, it doesn't give any kind of being like this. So most I don't laugh on his situation only. I also laugh on our way of old habits. Normally we have that. When you have a problem, we do all the ritual things, the pujas. Why? Because you want to be very happy, very comfortable in this samsara. And the top of that, it's really funny. Many of us like, what do you expect from samsara? And then on that also, you want to have a comfortable life. There's so much kind of a contradiction there. So then how you search for Dharma, you're searching the path, I think, in a kind of a mixture. Dharma, samsara mixed together. Then it becomes very complicated. So for that reason, I think we really need to have a kind of a preliminary practice, which I call, there could be many preliminary practices, but the real preliminary practice is what the Buddha, where the secret recipe, the thing that why Buddha looking at the luxury or these billionaires, why he cannot put himself there. But for us, we feel like a little bit of being practice and feel like I really need to get a full enlightenment. But then you see something billionaire, and then you feel like there are chances imagine you got a lottery, a $1 billion lottery, jackpot. Then I think you will forget to become a Buddha for sure, but then you would not have a renunciation. For sure. But the most important, the real thing is why cannot be like, let's ask this question to ourselves. Why Buddha didn't stay in his palace, even though he has all these facilities? That what I really want to be happy in my life, he does have that. But is Buddha stupid to sacrifice all this thing and left in the jungle? And then when he came out from jungle after the full enlightenment, a king asked him a question saying, what did you get? The Buddha's answer was, I didn't get anything. I lost everything. So from this, I found the peace. So then he starts giving teaching to how to let go things. And what does that really mean? And he gives this teaching. So I think most important, next time when you go to teaching, one of the best motivation to set up your motivation. It's like, why I am receiving this teaching for. Not because my friend gives the invitation, and not because I like the title, not it's because I like my teacher, I support my teacher. More is like this teaching is so suited for me. That is my urgent thing that I really need it now. With this, I will be happy. Without this, I will be so unhappy. And then there is something that I think my teacher would always say, this is how you'll find your right teacher. Normally, many of us say, who is my teacher? Who is the right teacher for me? But nobody will ask, what is the right teacher teaching for me? Right antidote. So that's what I'm thinking.
Wonderful, Rinpoche. Thank you so much. I want to ask one more question on this topic, and then we'll move on. So one thing I'm hearing is that the way you approach teaching, the teaching is very important. Like, where are you coming from? Why are you there, right? And then also, and that's sort of like this renunciation or something like that. And then there's also this openness. We call it faith or something like that. There's these sort of two elements we're talking about that, when you turn up to a teaching that might support transmission above and beyond information. And we'll come back to this, but one of the flavors of your teaching style, Rinpoche, is really for you ask us to become real. Sitting at a teaching and just sitting there for a while and say, why am I here? Why did I really come here? Why am I having this conversation? What's that for? Why am I doing that? There's a real, being really honest with yourself. And I think that's one of the flavors of your teaching style. And I want to get to that later, but I just want to close the loop on this. One other thought I had. Sometimes you hear His Holiness talk about scientists. And he says, the scientists are so amazing. They pretty much discovered impermanence, right? Then you start to think, maybe they'll discover emptiness, right? But I don't think the scientists have this type of motivation or this, like they don't have the renunciation, they don't have the devotion that we've just been talking about to allow for transmission, right? And so then there may become a little bit of a doubt, if scientists can do this without that, then what are they getting? Transmission from the world? So how can we think about when you hear things like this, His Holiness saying scientists are discovering, they're very close to, or maybe they even have realized impermanence, which we think is quite a high realization actually on the paths and grounds. So what do you think about that? Like someone might come along and say, no, you don't need all this extra stuff, faith, don't worry about that. Scientists, they don't have faith. They can move along the path. What do you say to something like that?
Yeah, for a long time I was thinking, because when His Holiness in one of his teachings said, scientists, they talk about impermanence. Scientists, they talk about the emptiness, the quantum physics. That's how His Holiness put it. But then I checked with one of my teachers, very kind. So when I checked with him, he said, you don't need to get a surprise on this.
You don't need to what?
You don't need to get surprised like His Holiness saying this. It is already kind of spoken by Chandrakirti himself. In the entering to the middle way, in the 6th chapter, in the middle of that, he said very clearly how we should investigate into emptiness. We should investigate like how the yogis has done and practice. This is what we need to do. So what does that really mean? So at the beginning, he gives all these hints saying, yogis, how they come to the investigation of this emptiness is, first what they will knock on this door of like, this suffering, I don't want it to be suffer again and again, this sort of thing. I'm not coming back for this. So I really don't want to create this kind of karma and causes of this. And then they will come to the point where they kind of realize all this is coming from the self-centered I, truly grasping of this I, true existence of that I. With this grasping, then all this negative emotion will arise. So once they see this, then they hold to the emptiness very dearly, because this emptiness is the only antidote for reducing and eliminating the self-grasping. Only one method. Solely, only one. No more than this. No, there's no possibility of the second path. This is the one. I sometimes call one door, emergency exit.
Wonderful.
That's it. So once you feel like this, then all the emptiness becomes very personal. It's not like I found this from research lab. All the quantum physics, this goes here and there, and there things cannot be go this. And especially in the Chandakya, it says, you can bring an example of the phenomena, emptiness of phenomena as an example, but truly how your practice is on the self. And the realization, first realization on emptiness is through this on the self, not on the table.
Yeah.
There is no yogi who will look at the table and saying like, oh, the table does not exist. I directly realize that. No way. It's to the self.
Yeah.
So why? Because the research is going through the more very personal. Personal is all this problem, the suffering and the cause of suffering. And that there are so many causes. And then at the top of all this cause, saying like, if you can eliminate the self-grasping, you can eliminate everything, all the negative emotions. If on this tiny bit of this self-grasping is left somewhere underneath, it's done. How much you put emphasis. Even you go shamatha, even you go on the like the highest something karsa.
Dhyana, levels of dhyana.
Dhyanas, all the dhyanas, the peak of samsara. Why we are still in samsara? Because this self-grasping is still there. So that's why scientists, no chance to get this kind of information, because this is not their problem. Scientists is morally to say things are outside this exist or not, but it's not like the, how to fix your problem inside your mind. To be honest, they don't believe in mind. That is their problem. This is all connected to the mind, psychology thing. So unless you don't believe like that, then it's a little bit difficult. And it doesn't become very personal, I guess.
I think that's the key, Rinpoche, personal, right? So that makes a lot of sense to me. So, the scientists, they might understand that this cup is, momentary changing, these atoms always have electrons flying around, they might not even know it's the collapsing of a quantum probability wave, whatever, but that's like information. This gets back to our original point. That's just information.
Yeah.
It's not personal.
It's not
and so it seems like transmission, when we say that transmission is more than the exchange of information, it needs to be personal as well. You have to say, why am I here? That's a very personal question.
Yes.
Why am I here?
Yes.
Why would I listen to this information? And so it seems like, we're really touching this really space that sometimes seems very intangible, right? That's very nice. You bring up emptiness and self-grasping, and we've been spending a lot of time talking about self-grasping and emptiness because we've been filming Rinpoche teachings on this amazing text. It's a text by the Panchen Lama, Jessen Chögyal Gyaltsen, and it's on the debate. It's actually a debate.
Lobsang Chögyal.
Lobsang Chögyal Gyaltsen. Yeah. So and it's a debate between. It was beautiful. He says basically he personifies self-grasping and wisdom, and they have a debate. And so self-grasping comes along and says, I have been your faithful companion, right? I have been here since you've been here. I'm your best companion. And now there's this new guy on the block, Wisdom, and he's trying to evict me.
Wisdom publications.
Wisdom publications, yeah. He's trying to evict me. What are you doing? You can't trust this guy,
Yeah.
And and who do you think you are? Even the Aryas, I'm still there.
Yeah.
Even the 8th level bodhisattvas, they have the echo of my influence still in the appearances, right?
Yeah.
So ignorance is, they're really, you're starting to read it. It gets personal, actually.
Yes.
Because ignorance is talking to you. It's a beautiful text. Fortunately, we don't just have ignorance talking to us. We have wisdom. And I'm very comfortable talking about ignorance.
Yeah.
Not so much wisdom. That's why we have Rinpoche here. So Rinpoche, I was wondering if you could say something a little bit about maybe this. In this text, what do you consider is one of the ignorance's greatest arguments? And actually, I remember you said that ignorance slips up sometime once, and he talks about the blessings, right?
Yes.
But what is ignorance's, do you think, one of the strongest arguments for why keep him around? And what do you think what's wisdom's response to that argument?
So normally I take a side of the wisdom whenever my teacher will say some kind of sort of very strong kind of teachings that which really kind of goes into my heart very strongly. At that time, I go, oh, that's really true. I can kind of feel their self-grasping there. I could have influenced. Normally we say we are under the sway of the negative emotions. Totally. When we say under the sway of negative emotion, 100% there is self-grasping there. Feel it when my teachers are talking on that. But it only lasts for a few minutes. So I guess it is happening with many of us. So in this text, actually, this Panchen Lobsang Chögyal's, this sometimes this book's title can be discussion between the self-grasping and the ignorant, self-grasping and the selflessness. But I don't think, how do you put it? With wisdom.
The heated.
The heated discussion. No, some people say discussion. I say this, there's no room for discussion. Because it's so personal now. You won't say like two lawyers going into the court saying like, we are going to have a discussion there. No, it's like either you win or I win.
Yeah.
This is the matter of this. Similarly, this is the book like that actually. So what this book becomes so important, normally His Holiness Dalai Lama always tells us that debate is very important. Logic is very important. Nalenda's way of tradition is very important. Many times he kind of make this huge statement saying, if this way of investigation of Nalanda stays long time, then Buddha's teaching will survive. If the teachings of this Nalanda tradition will not last, then this is end of the Buddha's teaching. That's how he puts it. But many of people, we don't understand that quite well. Here, if you look at this heated debate between this mistaken mind and then wisdom, and then it looks like, as we talk about personal, being very personal, I have my always this personal view saying like, I love wisdom. It's our guide, refuge, for sure. But without the guidance of this wisdom, but being with this self-grasping, I got be a human, and I have all these fantastic things around me, which I can appreciate, which I appreciate. Actually, all this comes through the help of this self-grasping. And then, am I ready to kind of be adopted by a new mind, which is called wisdom? I kind of have this kind of theory quite a young age. Then it's already there. This answer is already there. The question is already there in this book, saying like the ignorance mind or the mistaken mind will say like, I've been taking care of this person, that person. I've been giving whatever he needs through the attachment. All he needs, I give it to him, all this joy and all this. So you don't come here and take this my spot and position. And then the one thing, the statement of the self-grasping is very long, because this is like we always we have this experience within us, so it's very easy for us to answer that. But the self-grasping, the selflessness, the wisdom's the statement is a bit short but very powerful. It says, I'm not saying you being a helpful or not, but the real question is, are you there? Truly existing, are you there? I think you are kind of a imposter,
Yeah, you.
imposter. The person who he thinks that I very strongly cling to that, if he really one day he looks into all this problem, and then he can link to you, all this problem comes from believing this imposter I, then there's a problem. Now I have to defeat you, and I'm going to tell you that you are the imposter. And then how do you feel like? After now, beginningless, you feel like there's a mother. You give so much love, kind of surrendered. And then one day somebody will come in and tell you the truth. This wasn't your mother from the beginning. Then there's a big shock. Similarly here. And that's why Nagarjuna always will remind us, the person who sometimes listens to the teachings of emptiness, there will be two feelings. Either that person that will feel like, I cannot hear to this teaching anymore because it's full of nonsense. I cannot relate to the world now. I cannot relate to myself. I'm not going to listen to this. So he feel like going into the nihilism. Second person, when he hears this, because he found the antidote to eliminate all this negative emotion once and for all, he will be super happy. the joy, the tears, goosebumps will be there. And my teacher says like, then in which category we are in? When you listen to it, you are not on that, no fear, and then you don't feel the joy also. So my teacher would say like, you are hearing the just half of the story. You miss the biggest part. Like sometimes if you watch a Game of Thrones, you missed first two seasons, and you will say like, oh, stupid dragons, no, just forget about it. So the huge, the catchy, what really makes this teaching antidote very precious. I think unless you wanted to have a good fight with your self-grasping, and you wanted to get liberated from the suffering, and you cannot ask the question, am I really suffering? Even I am in a 5-star hotel, and then you got a lottery, and then you feel surrounded by people that who really loves you so much, cares about you so much. Reputation, number one. Then can you ask this question, am I suffering? And then your answer will be, nope. But my teacher will always tell me actually, saying, it is similar like, are we burning? Is our world burning? And some people like, I'm in a good shape. Around here, I don't see burning much. Climate change is a little bit there and there. And then the activist, the climate activist, right? Those people are so like into this because they see like, now we are not in a state of the global warming. It's burning now, boiling actually. This is how they put it. This is an example. Similarly, my teacher would say, if you are staying in a 5-star hotel, you're very comfortable. And now fire has caught up from the ground. And there's an emergency exit only on the ground there. Either you can rush and be quick and get into this fire exit, fire exit which is on the ground floor. Either you can just go up on the 5th floor and take a maybe moment of pleasure for maybe 10 hours until the fire reaches on the 5th floor. So 2 options left. So what kind of the option will you choose if you are smart enough? I think the ground floor only. Even you feel like quite comfortable there, one day you have to be suffering again. So look at all the billionaires and millionaires. You see all the good parts in the magazine. They post only good things, not one single bad things. But then one thing, you see something disaster there. Oh, they are suffering the worse than us. Sometimes they really appreciate our life. So this is the kind of we shouldn't skip the real rich motivation for us to practice Dharma. And then ultimately, you will find the right antidote. Many of us, we think we found the antidote, but we really don't know how to use that to our problem. Then what is the use of the good antidote? Yeah.
Rinpoche, seems like there's a difference between, understanding things like saying, oh, yes, I'm suffering. There's the 3 types of suffering versus really feeling that, hey, even in the best moments, there's a problem and feeling it. And it seems like, in this text, ignorance is like, I clothe you, I feed you, I'm like your mother and father, right? And I really look after you. And it seems like the response from wisdom is, well, you actually are an imposter.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know, what does wisdom mean when it's responding and saying you're an imposter? What is meant by that statement?
So don't we feel that there is somehow the truly existence of I? Even though we feel like we are dependent on something, but we deep inside we have this commitment to ourselves. Deep inside I am somewhere here very strongly. Truly existence of I. So now in India, that's why I think there's the Dutta on the view,
sort of philosophical tenet.
philosophical tenet system. Because in order to bring down the suffering, so then some things, in order to, unless we don't bring the karma, and then we need to go again in this somehow. Some things, if we don't take out the attachment, then there will be always the continuing problem. And then a Buddhist, it's somehow in the Hindu system also, before Hindu, I guess, they have this saying, unless you don't know the reality of the self, then you will always get kind of confused, diluted. Then in these, somewhere in a Buddhism, saying like, these two other things, fighting and to get eliminated this karma or the attachment, if you don't get freedom from this self-grasping, this holding to the true existence of I, there's no way to get out from samsara. So then, what is this truly existence of this I? For us, it doesn't much matter, looks like. But it does matter, because when we feel like strongly, like if somebody says bad things to you, you go like, how dare she and he can say this to me? Like me, very strongly, down there it is. You won't say I, but strongly, there's the biggest I there you ever felt on that day. So if this kind of investigation, that I, truly existence of that I, forget about this, I'm holding to the enemy very strongly. The problem is there, down there, I. That I, if you just try to look into this, do this I truly exist as how I think it exists? So then you need to go through the tenet systems. Where is that I? But don't please forget about, I think, to make the link of this today's suffering. I don't want to suffer this again, because all this I connect. Today's my anger, which is also a strong attachment to I. And this I that is down, I feel like they're solidly I there very strongly. I really wanted to look into this I. You need to be very brave there. It's now you are going to enter this haunted house. We are really haunted there. So now with this, when you really wanted to look at, you wanted to get out from this once and all, that's it. Sometimes in the movie, it happens, right? When the protagonist, like, he really makes an encourage move strongly there, then this is where the movie becomes quite important. Scene there, very, very exciting. So similarly, then as a practitioner, now we need to open and peel this, where this true existence is. And then we always feel like it's through the five aggregates, somewhere from this. And then sometimes we feel like it is within the summa from the five aggregates. Because if it does not exist within the one of the five aggregates, and then there's no I. If there's no I, and then I'm crazy. And whatever I'm seeing, it's lie, fake. So what is that? So these first you need to hold to the ground where I think you need to translate here. Migbe da nambe da ni yewa cheche. Migbe da ge ting du and nambe da to da ge ngarzin be kabla. Ani mararu samalo kowa da do zemba korwa se ki shesara bioris. Ani migbe da ge ting du nambe da de moduba ji thong be kabla. Then shine tarbang wa tu this.
So there are two sort of ways of sort of differentiating the selves, which Chandrakirti does in the verse Rinpoche was referring to earlier, where there are two kind of selves really that Chandrakirti identifies, which is one which is what we call the kind of reference point of the self-grasping, and one is the more aspective part of the self-grasping. So one is the kind of the conventional self, which is referenced, but then on the basis of that self-grasping has this aspect of clinging to that self to have intrinsic existence, and therefore clings to or grasps at the self as having intrinsic existence. And this is at the point where we can sort of say, well, this is that when the self-grasping is doing that process, this is how the self-grasping clings in this way, and then the whole process of samsara stems from that. Whereas if we're able to see that this referential point of the self, this conventionally existent self, doesn't exist in that way, the way that it's seen with the aspect in the sense of having intrinsic existence, and that's how we then are able, understanding that, seeing that self-grasping, the way self-grasping clings to it is incorrect, and that's the way when we start to unravel the whole process of samsara and start on the path to liberation.
So I can see through the audience that like, what is that what he's talking about? But it's very important. That's why His Holiness always says, if you go to my room and on my table, I only have on my table entering to the middle way. That's why I'm struggling the most. And if I don't get this cleared up, all the rest practices can wait actually. How much I put emphasis on the other practice, if I lose this one, I lose everything. This is how he always says that. That's why I think it is coming to that point.
Very nice.
Can we just break time?
Nearly. Well, I have one more question.
Okay.
I think we're getting some juicy topic, right? So we have these two selves that Chandrakirti is talking about. I wanted to ask about, so you have this conventionally existent self, right? And you have this self that's the object of negation. The thing we say doesn't exist, right? And there's these two things that are always at play, this like emptiness, dependent origination, but let's get specific, right? So we might say, it's like Shantideva says, like the ultimate truth is not the, in the domain of the intellect. And at the same time, so that helps us like understand that. But so the important thing here is the low intellect, right?
Yes.
And so at the same time, we hear these ideas, especially from Tsongkhapa, that there is a conventional truth to things, and then if we ask, well, how is that possible? The answer is that these things exist as merely labeled by mind, tokpe taksam. Yeah. So we have this tokpe taksam now. Now, in ordinary daily thing, like if you think about things that people think might not exist, people might think like a ghost is superstitious, right?
Yeah.
So if someone says there's a ghost there, and someone says no, this is superstitious, what are they saying? That's just a product of your mind. That's just tokpe taksam. That's just okay. So normally we think that the things don't exist that we reject exist tokpe taksam. Sorry, merely led by mind, right? And so then now we've got this situation where the ultimate truth is beyond, it's actually beyond the intellect, whatever that means, right? But actually the only way things can exist is through conception conventionally, right? And then what makes the convention exist, right? Why is it not superstitious also to believe in cups and chairs if they are only merely labeled by mind, right? And just like the normal answer will be like if you say then you get 3 conditions for what is a conventional truth, right? The important one seems to be it's not harmed by another conventionally valid truth, right? So then it seems like there's just like this stacking of conventional truths, right?
Yes.
And so it's only valid until it's not valid by another conventional truth, right? If this makes sorry, we're jumping in the deep end here, but we may as well. So then if I was to ask, given that, how can I be confident about anything I have? It's if it's merely labeled by mind, how can I be confident that it's valid? Maybe some conventional truth is going to come and just invalidate it tomorrow.
I think you're dragging me to the very into corner and then saying like staring at my face and say, now you tell me this. But most important here, I think if we see what does that really mean? All the things is merely labeled. What does that really mean? So at that, when we see merely labeled, so we cannot say, I think, all things can function, it's merely labeled. That doesn't make any sense. There's no juicy part there. It sounds terrible sometimes. Because normally people say this, I can do this because it's merely labeled. Huge connection is missing there. So right now, when to use this merely labeled is in this house. Somebody has some kind of fear. There's something. He heard some kind of steps and something. And then he felt like there's a ghost in this house. And then a person comes and then checks. And then through his clairvoyance, all this sort of CC camera, special CC camera that can see the ghost. No ghost. So then he can say, it's merely labeled by you. Because the ghost does not exist there anyway. Similarly, this when you have a self-grasping, where you are grasping towards that truly existence, why? It is the same ghost. That you're always thinking that truly exists there. This is the time, this is the mantra that you have to use. It's merely labeled. But we cannot use this on a conventional level. On the conventional level, it is functioning. And you cannot say, oh, it's just like the story of this non-existence ghost. We cannot put that one, just saying merely labeled. It doesn't help this to us. The good part is, whenever you talk about emptiness, the merely labeled, then automatically you will come to the then how can all these things function? then automatically there's beautiful, this you earned this through your merit. This is how I put accumulating lots of merit. That's why important, because you can ask, if things does not exist by its own, then how can things function? Very precious question. Very precious. And Lama Tsongkhapa, he shared to us saying, in here, this question is one of the difficult to answer only by the logics and reasons here. Here, then he says, now I have put lots of, accumulated lots of merit to answer this. This is the piece of the gap that Lama Tsongkhapa shared. Here, I need to make lots of effort to the decisive faith and the Guru devotion. And then all this is here. Not on the merely labeled eye, not only on that. So biggest question is, I cannot connect things are merely labeled, but I can still feel things can function. For us, not much problem. For Lama Tsongkhapa, it's a huge problem. So then, to connect to this, then things can function because he has already have information. More you say, there is no the emptiness, seeing the emptiness of the self within the five aggregates, then more you say, of course these things can function because they are dependent on each other very strongly. 제 생각 때는 딱 봤으면 인상 아니 자체 태그를 세도 전에对比着写吧啦마드베 라왕웨 어디 가수 버토베이나 그것이 되셔 나야 딩한 저기 셀부지 셰토스.
So in relation to this sense with these statements that things are dependently designated, and yet they still are valid on the level of functionality of sort of agents and objects of that action, agents and action. Then as much as we're able to cast aside the sense of things of having an unrelated kind of entity, an entity unrelated to anything else, as much as we're able to cast aside that under thinking that things are unrelated to others, so then we're able to bring in this presentation that things are always dependent and reliant on others.
Yep. So then I think in order to bring the certainty towards things can function, then I think the three tanda Quran sumana sheche tanya chuju sumden de diga mebe dabna ane tembu charges the khatu lam sang jarjus maras.
So when we talk about these three criteria on which the things are being presented validly as conventional phenomena, then if we understand those three criteria in the context which I've just mentioned, then that becomes much stronger rather than just immediately approaching those three criteria at the beginning without any context to them. Then I think if we have that context, it becomes much stronger and explicable, explains more.
So it seems the promise of understanding emptiness in a really accurate way is not that it just harms the true existence of a thing, but it actually reinforces the conventional existence of that of that same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then when we talk about true truths, first we talk about ultimate truth, then conventional truth. So we feel like we know the conventional truth quite well. Oh, the more struggle is the ultimate truth. No, the real problem is the conventional truth here.
Yeah.
So we never ask this sort of thing. Things does not exist by its own, but still it can function. That's incredible. Or this is what I'm really saying. We never ask this question. So this is how we need to explore into this Buddhist world.
Very nice, Rinpoche. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're
Thank
going to
you.
have a 5-minute break, everyone. Thank you.
Okay.
It's true.
Huh?
It's very true. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. And now we turn it over to you all and for your questions. So if there's a question in the room, we'll run the mic to it. And in the meantime, I'll just raise your hand and we'll get you a mic. And in the meantime, I'll ask a question from the online audience. So Rinpoche, what inspires you personally about this text and how has it shaped your own practice?
That text means the heated discussion with the self-grasping. Okay. So this inspiration going through this book, the whole time I was thinking like, whenever I'm thinking that I'm doing a Dharma practice, I should ask this question, whether this self-grasping is letting me do it, or I'm doing this practice to eliminate this self-grasping. Because self-grasping is always saying, even you are doing all this sort of these practices, doing ngondro, retreat, shamatha, whatever. He says like, you do whatever you want, but you cannot forget about eliminating me. You cannot harm me just a bit. Look at your practice. All the practices you are doing is to support me, actually. You keep me in the middle of the heart, and then you practice all the other things. So thank you for doing this. It's so good. And then my teacher is whole time practicing that. He would always say, he will go through his commitments and his daily practices, and then he will stop and think, what I'm saying, what am I visualizing about? Is this Dharma? It is not, because I don't feel this antidote is not giving kind of any effect on the self-grasping, an inch. And then he will do everything once again. And then it becomes a very strong practice. And the influence stays like hours and hours. And sometimes then the situation becomes very difficult. He will not blame outside. He will try to look into his grasping. That's the point, everything. Now every teaching that you will hear, pit instruction. Otherwise, you hold very dearly to your grasping and you are taking lots of pit instructions. It's like you have a very nice raincoat and then you are going through the shower. No effective. So that's why I think this heated discussion really awakes this wisdom very strongly. It makes so like, I cannot do it, but wish I can have it. This is the first thing it really awakes from practice. So that's why I think I call it quite inspiring in there.
Good evening, Rinpoche. Thank you for your time and for the talk. My question is around earlier this evening, you were talking about belief and about faith. And I was wondering what you might say to a practitioner who, as myself, is trying to sometimes cultivate a more resolute belief in these wonderful teachings and ideas I've heard for many years, which sometimes resonate, very firmly and it come up, on their own. And other times it's like, I know don't swat the mosquito, push it away, sort of feeling. And what you might say to that, to come to belief, to say, similarly, when you see somebody, some days you no, I maybe should help this person. But other days you say, no, I must help. I have to step in. So to maybe cultivate that sort of internal belief in the teachings and say, no, like you said, when you find the right teacher, like, no, this is the teaching. I have to go. I need to hear this. I need this antidote. What might you say to cultivate a more sustained feeling towards that?
Resolution 가지고 resolution.
보
닝 타고네요. 디 보루를 당과자마 되게 가르사.
네 스스스도 바로바로 나서 켈린 도시들 소 도시 내용도 삼삼데 가서데
dim제마 되게.
주된 소 this 내용도 스티네 난주 디 소디기 추추를 대버게야당 덴보 도시 인닝 타버네 대버 삼삼도 용도 스티네 대보도
네.
슈첸부 용도 스는 바로 라도 슈첸부조에
Sometimes we have lots of imprints. For that, it will just come as a bubble. Like it just comes out and then goes and dissolves into. And this is good. It is showing you some kind of to be honest with you, it's not only within you only. Most of us have that innate quality. But then if you don't have this decisive belief, which makes very important here, then all other the belief or wonderful things you are doing, it will give you some kind of a time to time kind of happiness. But you feel like I'm doing a right thing, but there is no much kind of a flavor in this. It's like you're eating a pizza, but you wish there could be more cheese in there. Where's the Parmigiano? What's the mozzarella cheese? Mozzarella cheese. So it's like there's no this so strong flavor. If there's no more strong flavor, then you will normally what will you say? I'm not going back to my favorite restaurant. And this is all the matter here. We do many of my friends who put lots of effort doing practices, 30, 40 years, but then still they're saying like, yeah, I feel tired in my life now. I've been doing practice, but I really don't know. So then there's a sad news. It sounds like I wasted my time on Dharma. That's a huge statement there. So not going into this kind of path, we should really make sure which you have chosen this Dharma, and then make sure what this Dharma is really for. Why I'm choosing this? I can be on that path. Why this? And then Buddha's teaching is, my goodness, it's really good. I need to, please have a seat. Huh? Yeah. It's a very nice story in the sutra. The Buddha gives a teaching on emptiness and the impermanence quite strongly. And then there's no more, so many people interested. and then who worries a lot actually is not the Buddha. His attendants, because repetition. And then non-Buddhist teachers, great scholars, they do lots of powers, magic, tantras, so strongly. So I guess maybe some of the Buddhist students are following the other path and not coming back. So the attendants are getting worried, and then informed Buddha, saying, well, I don't need to say anything, the methods that you teach, you are the omniscient one. But the problem is, we are out of business. Sounds like that to me. So we are not getting more people there, and then it's a problem. Then Buddha came to realize that it's a time to show actually now why I'm saying this very important. Sometimes saying 1,000 and showing the power is different. So Buddha said, okay, tomorrow make an announcement saying Gautama, Siddhartha will meet all the people who ever has a problem. Buddha will give a guidance and meet them. And then this announcement happened, and then people lined up, and all sort of questions. My suffering, my family problem, my everything, this sort of thing comes in. Buddha answers so accurately. In your past life, this happens. If you do this, this will fix the problem, something. Then everything went very cool. And then that day was one of the best business ever. And then he calls his attendant and then checks with him, are you satisfied? And then students are like, oh, you are the great teacher. Wonderful. And then he make a bow to the Buddha. And Buddha said, you're happy, I'm not happy. I didn't get this enlightenment to spoil the people. And to just fix temporarily problems. Unless I cannot give this teaching to fix the problem for once and all, this teaching, then there's no point I got fully enlightened. No use of the omniscient. So don't, from now day on, you don't tell me what to do. So that was his teaching. So that is quite important, the decisive faith, what you really want from this teaching. If you don't have this idea, you could do so many things in this world. Listen to the music with so many incredible music and peace of mind. Oh, so good. And you go somewhere doing so many stupid things. Many people do that, and there's so much enjoyment. You go downstairs, there's many people are mistaken with nirvana and nirvana. So why all this? So you really need to know what really Buddha's teaching is really offering you on this track. So in this, we need to investigate a little bit. So this is why how to bring a decisive faith means, what are you looking for in the Buddha's teaching? And what is the Buddha's emphasis on the teaching? So don't mix with this, with the many other things. So that is so very important. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes, Rinpoche.
Thank you.
Go for it.
Welcome.
Rinpoche, I was just wondering if when you're doing that analysis, and you're sort of proving that there's neither one, the I isn't separate from the aggregates, and then you prove that the I isn't one with the aggregates, it seems to me you have to do some more thinking, more logic to prove that finally it's merely labeled, or does the merely labeled come naturally as a result of that analysis? I seems a bit of a leap.
No. Doctor.
On the nuns of the Chittogi Dadigi, Cheverton, Chittidi, Chittogi Dadigi, in nuns of the Dadam, Pumboni, Rajigi to be chief mines, Rajigi to be Tadi and nuns. They took some, they corner took some, and in nuns of Chetam Shitty Dopitas and took good rest at a D taller the machine she has a number jacket. Dopitas, because of the Dopitas.
예.
The garnet should be
ཉལ야 지 투지기 딘지디 뭐마 송하라 ཉལ라 랑싱그 드비 체데 또 사고 도와 다 랑싱그 드비 드세데라 아니 담망고 송고요래 저장 랑싱그 드비 드세데 세고 하 고차비 쇼라 아니 랑싱그 드나 다 랑싱그 드비 오 코란데 야나 랑싱그 드비 오디다 찍도 요래 아니 타데도 요래스 어디니 신이 깨져니 용도 좀 배. 아니 타마데라랑 신규도 찍도 여발아야. 아니 내가 통. 나랑 신규도 네 타대암 도마델레양. 아니 견도 통도 좀 배. 다 얘는 디니를 만데. 아니 디니 그 잔에 많이 해도 좀 배. 아니 신의 민장 따여점. 신의 될래야 야바니 고르스.
Negres.
야바니 고르스.
But it did really push in the
너 디카돌 직 얘기를 봤다 얘기했어.
So then when we're doing this analysis of the one and the analysis of something being one with something or separate or many, one or many or one or separate, and then first our first point of call before we really dive straight into that logical reason. So before we dive straight into the logical reason, the first place we have to start off with is understanding what the meaning of intrinsic existence is, or what the meaning of intrinsic existence is. That's where first we have to know the measure of that, what the scope of being intrinsically existent is, and then using that, then we have this sense that if something were to was intrinsically established, once understanding what that means, if something were intrinsically established, then it would either be one or separate, one or many. And then you would then look to the faults of what it would mean if something were intrinsically one or intrinsically separate. So identifying the faults of each of those two. And then if you come to the conclusion that neither of those are valid, then at that point, because you are convinced that there's no other way apart from those two paths, so to speak, then at that point you would understand that things are merely labeled or are imputed by consumption.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It comes natural.
But you have to start with this sense of what intrinsic existence means in the beginning.
Some covers the
Rinpoche.
realization of emptiness avoids
Thank
the extreme of permanence. Yeah. So
Mhm.
just like that. Yeah.
Was that?
The realization of emptiness avoids the extreme of permanence. Some covers is like that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
True.
means like if you realize emptiness, you realize merely labor of mind. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would say dependent arising. Interesting.
Doctor. 랑싱기 모주버 통비나스 따따라 몰롱비기 쳇다서베 쳇다서바다 쳇다서 따따
What you said again.
I was just repeating what Venerable was asking, and it seems like if you realize emptiness emptiness through Chiktudro, through one or many, then you should automatically have the understanding of merely labeled by mind correctly. Like it doesn't Tsongkhapa in he says something like he switches the two ideas of emptiness. You would normally think emptiness would avoid the extreme of permanence, right?
extreme
then
from
namsum. Emptiness, yeah, so emptiness avoids the extreme of nihilism.
Yeah.
Because why? Maybe because you automatically realize
Yes.
Nihilate by mind. Is that
Yeah.
what Tsongkhapa is saying?
Yeah, I think there is a point where he's saying, because now you have a kind of certainty that I think of the dependent.
Yeah.
Or the dependent. So because you have researched that things depend on each other, but then it's more like, I know it's somehow it's dependent, but I always think they depend. It's very beautiful. I think I know it's dependent very strongly because you believe you have a decisive, I'm giving you a hint. They have, or you have already understanding of the all this suffering comes from this cause. If I seize this problem and then I have this path, then I can seize this problem for Noble Truth. You have a kind of a decisive of this law of causality. And then you think like, wow, I think this relation can be very stable because things exist by its own. But it's really opposite. It's because things cannot exist like this because there's no truly existent by its own. That's why it can depend on that. Wow, that's wonderful. So you touch the base of the dependent origination, which is possible. The
Yeah, so particularly in relation to cause and effect, dependence in terms of cause and effect.
Okay. Then you go to the next level, you are so kind of yearning towards what is the truth, the bhava, the true nature of the bhakti. Because you think, even though I talk about dependent, but I'm lacking something very strongly because I can feel there's still self-grasping there. Why I can say this confidently? Because recently I did go through the special insight,
Yes.
the stages of path by Lama Tsongkhapa. In there, he is such a skillful master. In there, when he taught about what is the over-refute, he refuting
Over-refutation of object.
over-refuting of the object of the negation, he kind of put all the list, blacklist, just kidding, all the list of the great masters there, but he didn't name it. But their understandings, they put it there.
Yeah.
And then before refuting them, what did he said? Like, in order to refute this, the person has to have a quality. That person has a quality that he has a strong, deep, decisive faith in the law of cause and effect, which is also we understand as Junji Tenjo.
Yeah, the level of dependent origination or dependent arising at the level of cause and effect, causal dependence.
Mm-hmm. Then once person has this, then I can tell him and give this teaching too.
Yeah.
So people does not have any faith of law of causality and does not care if there is continuity of mind or not. Then they try to understand this. There's no point at all.
Yeah.
So that I think because what we just said about at the end of the lamsum, the three principal aspects of the path, then he can say, now you have certainty, faith, or towards the dependent origination very strongly. Now there is no danger that you can fall into that. Stream.
So just so we get a final answer on this, because that's a little different to what Van was asking. So it seems Tsongkhapa is saying through the realization of emptiness, you get automatically for free an understanding of the causal dependent origination, right? Gyugi Tenjo.
Gyugi Tenjo.
Yeah. Gyugi
First, make
So-
sure you
was-
have a Junde Tenchung,
Yeah.
the causal.
Yeah.
Then second that you
But
will.
we were asking about the third level,
Uh-huh.
merely labeled by mind.
Yes.
So if you realize emptiness, we now know Tsongkhapa is very clearly saying you get the causal level.
Yeah, causal level.
You get, of course, there's causal parts merely labeled. We're asking merely labeled. Venerable's asking merely labeled.
Merely level. Yes.
Do we get the merely label for free as well?
The merely level.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
what
I'm
I
just
did.
checking.
Yeah, it's a natural thing.
Chikta
Yeah.
dagi da digi.
Yeah, yeah.
The trip somebody, you know.
Mm.
Di tu nyam du digi nansu tope ta sama doctor.
Oh, delivery. Yes.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Yes.
So now, a question. Is it normal for a sense of nervousness to arise even when I love the teachings on emptiness and the dependent origination? But I guess with the teachings, I get this sense of physical nervousness that suddenly appeared after many years of practice. Is this normal, and how can I work with this?
그래서
Some
Nervousness. Did you say physical?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the low number that is actually toniki colos of density. Go or some should yes, the yene nekap to the chad nature de Suzuki Lubus to get on as a nervousness that he's thinking the sword is there. And the I'm always thinking
How to work with this is the second part of the question.
nervous.
Nervousness. Lubu.
Not the through the body, nothing to do with the mind.
Yes, it's a kind of physical nervousness that has appeared after years of practice.
Nervousness. No, it's not. It's not only the body is doing it. It's the mind actually. Yeah. So the mind is delivering something into this physical brain here, and then it is giving you a strange signal to the body, I guess. Actually, I'm not getting this. He's getting it. So he is touching something there, which I just received like how many times I listened from his holiness. It is just coming from here and going from there. That's it. It's not touching down there. So I don't feel nervous and feeling joy. That's why my teacher is saying like, what's happening with us? So it's good that something that whether it's bad or not, this teaching is having a strong impact on you. I think it's that person is a very lucky is not the word here. It should be like the person is actually gifted. He is the one who can feel something. So that now I'm not saying this nervous itself is good. I don't want to live with this kind of feeling nervous. But how to now take this into the path actually? It's more like when I hear this, it makes so uncomfortable. Maybe it's really touching to the self-grasping there. That's why I'm not liking this, because it's really hurting the mother. You think that's mother, so dearly keeping you closely. It's something doing there. So it is very necessarily not go into the approach like in directly Prasangika school, but then you can just step a little back and try in the menu there is also Savatantrika school, which is one step back. You find this teaching. So then you find this teaching quite suitable for you. Stay on that path. This is how we say the Buddha, you are the omniscient, skillful master. You know what you're doing. And Buddha himself accept that, saying like, yes, you're right. That's why he called I'm the best. And he says with a confident, actually. He has a confidence. So then, and how to use this tenet system in order to eliminate the self-grasping. So then there's the steps. So then you are using this teaching according to your own way of understanding levels, which not really going to the nihilism. All the other teachings, the going steps means like not falling into the nihilism. That's why there are 4 schools. So I think this could be my answer to that.
Thank you, Rinpoche. So we have maybe time for one more question here.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche, for your teachings here. Very helpful. I have a question about faith and devotion. And I guess I do feel it's important not to judge other people's faith and devotion, to think about our own. It occurs to me that maybe in the past, when I've had some faith and devotion, that faith and devotion has been based on an idea that you're going to get short-term results, and not so much faith and devotion on the face of somebody really having the wisdom of the Buddha that can fully eliminate ignorance and suffering. Can you provide perhaps some advice for how to develop the correct form of faith and devotion?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
The devotion, some of my friends don't like the word using devotion. So that's why one of my close friend always tells me, gives me a signaling when I'm using this, and he said, go like that. he would only use the decisive belief. So then shouldn't use something else. I forgot. When I said devotion, she just go like this. So anyway, it doesn't much matter what really means. So on the path, if you are not got confused that you are on the path, many people really don't know what is that path actually. What means the path? Unless you lose the track of eliminating this self-grasping, which is can be understood as ultimate happiness. We ask sort of a happiness in this nation, America. Many people from other country, they are looking at this like land of opportunity, such a great place. But here, some people are looking back to India, Nepal, like, I wanted to find Dharma. So everybody is asking for what? Happiness. So then we never kind of ask for ultimate happiness, which is no more suffering now. But we just come like, there is suffering, you change the situation, and there's another suffering, and then you change it. That's how we just jump on the suffering, but not eliminate one. So then now the Dharma is to actually eliminate. So whether you can eliminate or not, it's such an urgency that you have a gut or a kind of a confidence that I really don't know emptiness exists or not. I really don't know Buddha exists or not. But my main problem is I really wanted to give a good fight to this self-grasping, which I really feel this is so really giving me the pain. Through this kind of teaching, I really love it. So now, each and every time you eat, you drink, you enjoy, and even though we say, Nagarjuna says, when you are eating a food, I'm not eating this food to gain some like a beauty, a nice skin tone, or so fresh and stay young. Not this. I eat this to fight to the self-grasping. So that means everyday activities, if you are held with this, that becomes Dharma. And then when you find on this this path, you will sometimes do yoga. You find another sort of teachers. Of course, you should welcome them. You can also listen to some non-Buddhist teachings also. And then sometimes it will like, I really love this idea, but because these things are missing, oh, I really admire this teaching of the Buddha so much. So it really gives you much stronger. So that is how I think if you really know what you're getting, it's like I'm going on this path. Maybe I will go to stop at my friend's place for coffee, but I will stay there for a few minutes and then I need to go there. Otherwise, our fate will be like, I heard this is so good. Then you set a journey and then you end up at your friend's place for forever and get lost. So this decisive faith is whatever I do, this is my main mission. That's it. So then ultimately the beauty is even that person is a Buddha or not, even that person is qualified, super qualified or not, but you will get something out from him for sure. You sometimes feel like, even my father is not a Buddhist, it sounds so Buddhist. You find this. It's really incredible. So this is the right path actually you're going on. So what right path, wrong path? We normally talk about this. So even Buddha one time said to one of his students saying, you practice on impermanence. And then impermanence of that. And then you left out with this emptiness business. So you are not on a path. That's what Buddha said. It sounds like if you are practicing impermanence, that it is really on the path. But the Buddha said, nope. I don't call this as a path. The real path starts when you say this is just illusory. Then it starts going on a path. So my teacher would say, when these things going on a path, along the path, then you need all other things. Like going to the main mission to this place, you need to buy the airplane tickets, get a visa and everything, because going to there, it is very important. So we need to have that kind of a certainty. Like when we take a refuge, that's why refuge becomes quite important here. Not to get lost. So when we take a refuge in a Buddha Dharma Sangha, so then our main refuge is the Dharma. So if you say, I really don't know what is Dharma, and then you say, I have taken a refuge in Dharma, it sounds very funny. And then you need to hold to this ground. This is the Dharma. So the real Dharma is actually, to be honest, it's the ultimate happiness. No more suffering. Actually, the beauty of taking a refuge in the Dharma is I don't want a refuge anymore. That's why you say, I wanted to become like you. That's why in a Buddhist, we take a refuge until I get fully enlightenment. And that's something quite unique. Many of us always forget that. We try to forget, we take a refuge, there's this incredible person, you bless me, you bless me, you bless me. That's not how the Buddhist teachings work actually. Actually, Buddha is against that, to be honest. And he is the one, like, you are your own master. That's the Buddha's teaching. So what does that mean? You need to look into your mind and you first have to accept, I am deluded. Not saying this because I said it and you are repeating after me, that you have to get a full experience. Then you feel like, I need to get out from there. And then my teaching, which I used on myself, it worked on me, it will work for you. So then this is how I think when a great master, because now we are closing, so I can say this, when the great master Domtempa was passing away, the one great Kadamba Lama passing away, and then his student, so this impermanence of his teacher, he cannot accept it because he really wanted to get more teachings from him. He feel like, but these teachings, incredible teachings, still he has so much. Now, if he will not live, how will I get these teachings now? And then he has strong this kind of sadness, and the tears fell on his master's face. And then the master asked, why are you crying? And he shared his thought, and then teacher said, if every time whenever you feel absence of me, just look back into my teaching. Wherever I stress this is more important, you practice this, you will never miss me again. That's the teaching he left. So this, we have it. This is why this text, the discussion between the self-grasping and the wisdom becomes so important. So we need to figure out which side are we going to take on now. You cannot stay in the middle anymore. It is not like you are on the street and the two guys are fighting. You cannot just sit in the middle. It's whether you are with the self-grasping or you are with the wisdom, period. So then once you feel the certainty of the wisdom, then you will go out there to find these teachings everywhere. Doesn't matter he's a Buddhist or not. Even if that person can give you teaching on wisdom, he's a Hindu, Muslim, go for it. Go for it. So you are not lost. Otherwise, even you stay with the Buddha himself, you are not getting any antidote, then you need to ask, like, are you a real Buddha? Who asked this question? His Holiness asked the question to the Avalokiteshvara, the compassion Buddha. When it comes in his dream, he asked, like, do you have the realization on emptiness? That's why this is great teaching. Okay.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Okay.
So to finish, how can people stay connected with you? I know you have Tibet House tomorrow night, but you also have the Serkong Institute. How can people connect with the Institute and what's coming up?
Okay. My kind teacher, because he is such a gifted student that a very different way of studying. When he studied with his masters, he will always ask the question that this way of study that His Holiness always emphasized on Nalanda tradition. He has always this question how this logic, reason, this how we can bring this into practice. So the day one he started to study, he has this big question. Even though he loves to meditate, even he loves Dzogchen very much, he never left off this kind of question like, why this becomes so important? Why this I need to practice? Why I need to study this? So he explored into this way of the teaching. And then one time before he became my teacher, we are neighbor. And then we are discussing a lot. And then he says, through the help of the Giluk system of debate and logic and reason, spending a huge amount of time in Dharamsala under the guidance of the His Holiness Dalai Lama, now I could finally say with the confidently I can say, through the help of the Lama Tsongkhapa's way of this teaching, my faith to the Guru Rinpoche becomes very strong. I thought like, wow, that's something. This is something I really need to practice then. I need it. So normally many people are like, I don't have time for this, I will go for this. So I thought, well, because he is the person who can define the Nalenda's way of tradition, how to bring this into practice. So then he has the curriculum, which he made it while studying. You need to study like this, think like this debate, logic, reasons, you need to put this like the heated discussion thing. He put most of everything like that. So then he has all the curriculums. Then I thought like, this is incredible. So then my teacher kind of asked me that because I have this name called Serkong Rinpoche. So with this name, he think there will be a benefit in future for the people who really wanted to practice not Dharma, but like how His Holiness has emphasized. So then he thought like, we should open this institute. So we opened it. Before doing this, we kind of did kind of a, what is that called? Pilot test, isn't it? Pilot test. We did that for 10 days. And I called the many people who spend quite learned one, teachers, Western teacher, author, and also people who has a complaint, 30, 40, 50 years of studying, and then he felt like I'm not getting it. I call all these kind of people. We have almost like 30 people at that time. And then I let my teacher give the teaching. And they hear this, they love it. And some also cried and then said like, after now I'm reading this book, but we never kind of felt like this. And one person is very funny. He said like, maybe your version of the book and my version of the book is a very different one. So with this kind of having a confidence, then I thought like now we need to have a people like you, like a family or householder who has a family, who has to do a job, who's very busy cannot spend so much time in Dharma, but still they really wanted to practice Dharma. So we need to have a quite a kind of opportunity for you to practice. And remember, His Holiness says, who is holding the Nalanda tradition? He always says, go to down south monasteries. They are holding the Nalanda traditions. But we cannot, like lay society and so all this. We don't have a time for like studying for 20, 30 years. But then what, through the help of my teacher, so we thought like we give this, make into a 4-year course, and then only like two months and a half from October, November, and the middle of December, because Christmas is coming, so we need to let the people go. So in 2 months, 2.5 months, for 4 years, what you will start from is from the debate, logic and reasons. Then second year, not only we will teach it, but we will always try to use this, how do you use this to connect with your practice. So in the second year, we go to the Pramana, where it talks about debate, the logics and reason, especially how do you say the Buddha is
Valid being.
the valid being? This is a very great subject there. And then we will connect this to the Four Noble Truths in the Pramana. And then on the third year, we will cover up the second chapter of the Pramana, where it talks about the Four Noble Truths there. Through the Four Noble Truths, when it talks about the cessation, then we will take to the entering to the middle way by the Chandakirti. So that is on the third year to present you. Now this is the time you to meditate on emptiness. So on the fourth year, we will try to connect everything and how to practice in daily life. And then we will give you a small hint where now how to use the tantric practice with the help of bodhicitta. And then we will let you go. Because Chandakirti said, let them go. He said, like with the 2 wings, as the swan, what's that?
Yeah.
The king of swan,
Yeah.
flying with the 2 halves of the 2 truths, now ready to fly. So we let you fly. And you cannot fly, that's not our problem. So that's how I think it is coming up quite well, to be honest. I'm quite surprised because we have a fear maybe this new thing, I really don't know how the students will take it, but through the students' effort and then my teachers' way of teachings, and we have a few other teachers, it is coming out quite well. So I don't really say it much because you can go on the Serkong Institute YouTube, and then there we have made some videos available to.
We'll put the links.
Yeah,
We've put the links in the chat, and we'll
Mhm.
also put the link to Tibet House in the chat.
Mm.
And then that's a wonderful way to stay in contact with Rinpoche.
Yes, yeah. So
Rinpoche, thank you so much for spending so much time with us and answering all our questions. It's such a great honor to ask you these questions and get these answers. And your answers are always so sophisticated and so practical. That's rare, bringing those together. So thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight, both here in person and online. It's a great pleasure to be with you all. Thank you so much, Simon. It's really helpful to have you here as well. So, all right. Thank you, Rinpoche. Anything, any other final wisdom to finish the night off on?
today I'm in the mood to talk. So I'm not letting you go. Just kidding. Just kidding. So this year, now we all know it's the 90th birthday of His Holiness Dalai Lama, he never asked anything from us. He done so much for us, actually. He do so much now you are seeing it slowly, because now he is not giving so much teachings, but we can see it is like strong. Without this teaching, how it's really drying up inside us. Anyway, whenever his birthday is celebrated, he says, birthday is not my thing, and I don't want any gifts. But if you really wanted to give me something, then practice. This practice is compassion. Be gentle on yourself, be gentle to others, and then if you can, with the help of a wisdom, try to benefit the sentient beings. That's how he put it every time. So many, it's hard to be honest, but have you ever tried? In order to say it's very hard, you need to try something out. If you haven't tried it, so now it is very important that we try it, because he's on 90s now. And it's not late to give him the gifts. So don't forget to practice time to time compassion and connecting to the sentient beings, or don't forget to be gentle to yourself. And this is something that whatever His Holiness is asking for him it's for yourself, actually. There's nothing left for him. That's the Bodhisattva. Anyway, thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you, and for the wisdom and the people who holds here, very day and night, very hardly, and huge benefit is out there through your passage. And then why we are here is for all this beautiful audience. So make use of this wisdom and materials which is very available, and they are trying to. Daniel is very good to reach out to all the sentient beings. You're doing a great job. So thank you for doing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you. Okay.
Good night,
Yeah,
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.